Welcome to another daily cinephile vlog. And it's been a while since I've looked over my movie collection for the YouTube channel. But I just thought I would share a quick update because recently I did organize somewhat by genre. Everything is still, for the most part, we have the Criterion discs. These are all the Best Picture winners, the Paramount Presents line, Batman movies, DC movies, Pixar movies, DreamWorks movies, Marvel movies, and the Shout Select series, and then some animation. So this whole wall is organized based on just a very random assortment of things. Meanwhile, on this wall behind Mr. Solo here, everything alphabetically that doesn't fit in with any of the other piles. And then, of course, here's Disney animation. But I wanted to try to do it organized by genre. I might do it for the rest of the movies at some point, but right now I just thought I would start with horror. And the thing is that it's kind of tough to, do something organized by genre, because how is anything really declared of whatever genre it is? Like, what's a horror movie, what's a sci-fi movie, what's a thriller versus a horror movie, what is a sci-fi movie versus a fantasy movie? I mean, like, a lot of that stuff can intermingle at times. There's sometimes very rigid rules for the genre, but as you can see here, there's a lot of different things that pop up. Of course, the Tales of Terror set, which everything in here is not even necessarily a horror movie anyway, so that already breaks it. I have the Monster collection here, but for all I know, I don't think Jack the Giant Slayer is considered a horror movie, or 10,000 BC, or King Kong, really. But Cloverfield, I guess, would somewhat count. But a lot of those might fall under more the sci-fi or fantasy route, which I do have in the lower section as well. I made a combined sci-fi fantasy section, but that is much more broad. As we go through horror, the Alien franchise, I think more of as horror versus sci-fi. American History X, I think of as a horror movie. American Psycho. Army of Darkness, which is like more of a comedy, but I do put a lot of comedy horrors in here. Like, Banana Splits movies, definitely more like horror / comedy. I would say Beetlejuice as well. Not really sure if Big Trouble in Little China should be in here. Don't know if that's at all a horror movie. That's more action oriented, kind of fantasy. It's a weird movie. It's kind of hard to categorize that one. I put Black Mass in here just because Johnny Depp in the movie is creepy, but is it a horror movie? Not really. Bubba Hotep's another one where it's like it's in the horror, because it's Bruce Campbell. It's got horror elements, but it's not really it's more of a comedy. A lot of comedy horror ends up in here, but also there's some stuff that I don't even know what to describe it one way or another. Like Dark Star. Does Dark Star count? That should probably be in the sci-fi territory, but same, Dracula Dead and Loving It, way more of a comedy, not at all a horror movie. Yeah, it could just be tough to distinguish all of these. I put a lot of John Carpenter movies in here simply because when I think John Carpenter, I think horror. Even though he doesn't necessarily only make horror movies, like Ghost and Mr. Chicken. I mean, this is just straight up a comedy movie. But here it is because it's got a horror element. Ghosts. Also happy to get, I now have a lot of the Hammer Horror franchise films, the entire Mummy collection, the entire Dracula collection, and the entire Frankenstein collection. One way or another, I have all of them on Blu-ray now. Yeah, this is, even Jaws, I don't know if I would really call that a horror movie, but when you get to that point, you're like, well, I don't want to call them thriller just because I don't want to call it horror. I always think that's a bit of a cop-out. But it's like, I think of movies like Jaws or Big Trouble in Little China, and I'm like, well, I don't know, this is just a movie. I don't even know what genre to really put this in. It's several different genres, but it's kind of hard to nail down as just one thing. Some people are going to view it as a horror movie. Some people are going to view it as a thriller. Some people are just going to view it as a summer blockbuster, even though that's not really a genre. Like, I have the Teen Wolf movies in there, but those are comedies for the most part, but have horror elements. So yeah, this was a tough group of movies to put together. But and then right here we start the sci-fi collection, which is nice. Actually, I was thinking of getting labels, but it looks like these big Mill Creek box sets might actually make good bookends to start. This is the end of horror, and now we begin sci-fi / fantasy. I throw some different fantasy movies in there as well. Like Back to the Future, I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of a fantasy, kind of a sci-fi movie, kind of both. Anyway, this should be all the horror movies I own, though, if you consider them all horror even. But yeah, this is a tough job to do. I kind of prefer alphabetical, but hey, it does make for an interesting group of movies. Thanks for watching.